Good evening and welcome to the Daily Report. Tonight, we tell you all the stories that are making headlines in the country, and we tell you how South Korea had the shortest court-martial, and then later on we discuss women in trade. We are looking at gender-based violence, 16 days of activism. We have people who are going to tell us how exactly it's affecting women in the workplace. My name is Hibaq. This is the Daily Report. Let's have the highlights.
Tonight, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua allies summoned by DCI tomorrow.
Hata wakitupeleka Mombasa, hata wakitupeleka Busia ama Turkana, sisi tutaenda sababu sisi ni watu ambao tunajua sheria na tunaheshimu sheria.
They have decried intimidation following DCI summons. Also tonight, Immigration PS now says the increase in birth and death certificate registration fees has been caused by inflation.
There have been many attempts, 5 of them, for the government to transition. This is the first time that we have been able to successfully transition from second generation to third generation.
Plus, Jackton Odhiambo, the suspect in the murder of activist Edwin Chiloba Kiprotich, found guilty of the offense. And DP Kindiki says nobody should interfere with ODPP's decision to terminate certain prosecutions.
Welcome once again to this live broadcast. On sign language interpretation tonight is Rhoda Nyamai. To start us off, the government has defended the increment in birth and death registration fees, as Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Immigration now says the increase is as a result of inflation. And as Elizabeth Mutuku now reports, opposed the proposal by the government, insisting the need to review the new laws.
When you get to make substantive amendment,
the PS in the Ministry of Immigration was put to task to explain what necessitated the increase in registration fees for the crucial documents, the government defending the move, which it says it was a result of inflation.
And everyone was asked to pay 300 shillings. That means we have already implemented this, the regulations we are presenting here without approval. So I want to be informed. How did that change from 100 to 300?
I should be able to be identified by the system that this is the same person launching the same, seeking same replacement or duplicate, and therefore you will only be able to produce one. So you are not deterring me by increasing costs, because your system will be able to raise the flag that this is a multiple application of the same document. Therefore, your justification to increase the replacement or duplicate costs is not warranted.
Service through digital or digitally. In this republic, Chairman, not every part of Kenya is connected. So I wanted to see the people who participated in public participation to understand that all those people from the 364 sub-counties were in concurrence to this legislation.
The PS was appearing before the National Assembly Delegated Legislation Committee to shed light on the new laws proposing the increase in the fees for registrations of IDs, birth certificates, death certificates, among others.
Technology and digitization generally reduces cost across the board. Some of the costs reduced by digitization would mean, one, would be travel costs. You no longer need to travel long distances for some of the services because you can get them online. 2, there's no more queuing. There's no more wasting of time in government offices for different services of government. In addition to that, also the corruption costs are eliminated by digitization in a big way, because you are now interacting with technology, apart from giving money to a paid either in cash or through other forms. So we believe that digitization overall reduces the cost of doing business, it reduces the cost of government, of delivering government services, and it is on record actually that We have been able to raise revenues in some of these areas because we have adopted technology.
In the proposed increase, birth certificates will now be charged at 200 shillings, up from 50 shillings, while death certificates will be charged at 200 shillings, up from 50 shillings. Late registration of birth certificates, which is currently charged at least 150 shillings, will now go up to a new charge of 500 shillings. Similar to late registration of death certificate, you will also be charged 1,000 shillings for registration of birth, while foreign registration of birth in mission abroad will go up to $150. Other charges that will go up include the verification of certificate for private for both Kenyan and new foreign agencies, as well as presumed death certificate.
This Maisha number, this identity issue, is so important for national security. Look at the current ID you have, the second generation. Somebody can just grab your picture and be able to get your money from your account. Others can be able to transfer your land. But this third generation ID we have now is secure, is tamper-proof, because your details are in the chip. And nobody can actually grab your picture and get a SIM card from your name, or be able to get to do fraudulent activities with it. These are very, very secure cards.
Lawmakers urged Bitok and his team to revoke the proposals should the ministry fail to consider the inputs. Elizabeth Motuko, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Liza. The 348 schools that were ordered to shut down their boarding sections have 4 weeks to comply with the required safety standards. In a joint meeting with the Ministry of Education, Kenya Private School Association stated that the affected schools would only be allowed to resume normal operations if they meet the mandated safety requirements. Andreen Kilemi now tells us more.
Schools affected during the assessment exercise to establish the status of compliance to safety standards for all boarding primary schools now have only 4 weeks to comply.
Schools that had those problems, we have communicated to them, the ministry communicated to them. They are supposed to make good those areas which were not right. And we are in recess. You are all aware schools are closed, so the schools are working on those areas. I believe within the next 2 to 3 weeks, many of them will have complied, and we expect the ministry will be going back to assess and give them a clean bill of health.
Speaking earlier today, Chairman Private Schools Association Charles Ochome urged parents not to worry, further clarifying that it is not schools that have been closed, but rather the boarding sections.
No school has been closed. What was closed are the boarding part of the schools, and that was only on areas where they were found not to comply.
The inspection of these schools highlighted key requirements, including dormitories having 2 doors that open outward, the availability of firefighting equipment, and adherence to other essential safety standards.
You agree with me, in 2-3 weeks, a school can put a door. There were others which did not have things like firefighting materials, and I think those are things they buy and put into those places. So I believe with the time we have up to 6th before the schools open, those things will have been done and the schools will have complied.
The Ministry of Education ordered 348 primary schools to close down their dormitory sections following a fire incident at Endarasha Primary School in September, which claimed the lives of 21 students. Nairobi County recorded the highest number of affected schools, with a total of 49 schools ordered to close, followed closely by Kericho, Uasin Gishu, Tharaka Nithi, Kisii, Kiambu, Meru and Garissa counties. Andreen Kilemi, TV47.
Thank you, Andreen. Allies of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua have been summoned to appear before DCI officers tomorrow, Thursday, over chaos that was witnessed during a burial in Limuru last week. Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa has raised concerns accusing the Directorate of Criminal Investigations for being used by top government officials to intimidate legislators allied to Gachagua. Moige William with the details.
Honoring summons by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to appear before its regional offices in Nyeri, Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa now raises fears that the government is in a fishing expedition to intimidate leaders allied to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
I come from Kiambu. We are in Nyeri. We do not understand why they summoned us here. Then after we get here, they tell us that we have to go back to Nairobi.
The Kiambu senator further narrating his encounter with the sleuths, alleging that the DCI had turned him into a suspect in the ongoing investigations relating to the chaos witnessed at a burial event in Bibirioni, Limuru constituency.
I was summoned here not as a suspect, not as an accused person, but we have realized that they have now turned the whole scenario. They are now saying that we are suspects, that we caused harm, we assaulted people, we damaged property, and our cars, we are the victims.
Accompanying Karungo was former Limuru Member of Parliament who accused the state of planning to prefer trump-up charges against a section of former Deputy President allies.
These people are in a fishing expedition. If you write anything against the government, if you criticize the government, nothing else, they will just trample charges on you.
We are fearing because we don't know what is being planned around our lives. We are targeted. And this must stop.
We are extremely determined to speak for our people, determined to speak for our nation, and determined to stand strong and stand for what we actually believe in. It is not a crime.
We are not going to fight with the officers. They are junior officers whom are just executing their mandate. We are not going to fight with them, but we will fight with the person. Ile pepo mbaya zaidi. Hiyo ndio tutapigana nayo.
Kiambu Senator and former Limuru Member of Parliament are expected at the DCI headquarters Thursday in relation to chaos that were witnessed at a burial event where Gachagua was in attendance and escaped unhurt. Although several other mourners were injured when suspected goons attacked the event, forcing those in attendance to scamper for their safety. Mwege William, TV47.
Right. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has emphasized the need for collaboration among all arms of government, stating that no institution can operate in isolation. Speaking at the launch of the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions ODPP Strategic Plan 2023 to 2027 in Nairobi, the second-in-command said independent institutions and offices have a duty to embrace interdependence, collaboration and cooperation with different institutions across the government. Mike Kagongo reports.
If you're ready, the national anthem.
As Kenya's constitution celebrates the establishment of autonomous offices and institutions, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki urged a more independent approach, emphasizing that no institution can function in isolation.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Speaking during the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions ODPP Strategic Plan of 2023-2027 launched in Nairobi, Kindiki emphasized the value of collaboration amongst government agencies in order to accomplish their common objectives and carry out their mandates.
While we applaud and celebrate the creation of independent offices and institutions by our Constitution, we also remind ourselves that for the realization of the objectives, the purposes, and the vision of those independent institutions, it is important that these institutions work collaboratively with other arms of government and other institutions, because no single institution can deliver without the support of each other.
In order to promote a unified government strategy, Kindiki emphasized that the primary focus should be on communal involvement rather than autonomy. He praised the ODPP strategic plan introduction and reaffirmed the government's commitment to assisting its revolutionary projects.
Independent institutions and offices are independent in four aspects. First, decisional independence, that you have the independence to make decisions without interference from any authority or quarters.
Under Executive Order Number 2 of 2023, President William Ruto created a liaison position within the Deputy President's Office with the responsibility of communicating with constitutional commissions and independent offices. The national government had to get involved in these issues by budgeting, policy making, and putting recommendations into action. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kagwongo. Tonight, a statement by Mining Cabinet Secretary Hassan Joho threatening Kenyans on social media for criticizing the broad-based government has not gone down well with Kenyans online. ODM party is already divided on the statement as President William Ruto receives pressure from critics a day after he slammed Kenyans for opposing his legacy projects. The president, who for the past 2 days camped in Taita Taveta County, launching development.
Basi anapozitawaza kirasmi.
A 2-day working tour by President William Ruto in Taita Taveta County, flanked by a section of his cabinet secretaries, reprimanded Kenyans for opposing government projects as President Ruto and his CSs went on a defensive spree on Ruto's legacy projects.
Mambo ya universal health coverage wanaipinga. Mambo ya afya wanaipinga. Sasa mimi nauliza, hii pepo chafu, nafikiri hata imefika wanapinga hata matoleo kanisani. Jameni.
According to political analysts, President William Ruto appears to have buckled under pressure after weeks of intense criticism by the church and Kenyans online on the way he has handled the Social Health Authority SHA, unfinished development projects, the Adani JKIA Ketrako deals, the education sector crisis, and the Kenya police mission in Haiti, which section of Kenyans opposed.
It's not in the president's interest to appear to be looking for a fight with his own people. It's not in his interest. But that's what comes out on this side and on the other side there. But one can understand that because of the desperation that he finds himself in.
Mining Cabinet Secretary Hassan Joho coming under fire for his remarks, threatening Kenyans online for criticizing the president's development agenda as Ruto's fiercest critics, now staunch defenders. Joho and Minority Leader in the National Assembly Junet Mohammed spared no words for the president's critics.
Ati anasema Raila Odinga must fall. Kwa mtandao. Tena anazungumzia nini? AU. How unpatriotic can you be as Kenyans that even one of your own ako na nafasi ya kuongoza pahali pazuri kwa sababu ya kisiasa za kizembezembe unaanza kusema they must fall. We will come for you, my friend.
Jana nimeongea hapa Taita Taveta, naona wengine wanaturukia Junet kwa bana, mdomo ni yangu, siasa ni yangu. Wakati tuliingia wamama vile wanavaa, waliambia wamama walisema my dress my choice. Mimi pia nasema my politics my choice.
Of course we have cabinet ministers and other people who have appear to have joined the praise and worship team. So whatever he does, they praise, even if it does not make sense. And people can see that. So the president is not in very good shape.
Joho and Junet's remarks have left ODM divided, with Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, during an interview with a local radio station, condemning Joho for the remarks, saying the Senate will summon him. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo, for those insights. As the festive season approaches, security agencies in the country have assured Kenyans and international tourists of their safety as they celebrate and visit various destinations. As Kinto Wafula reports, the Ministry of Interior has announced robust strategies to ensure peace and high-level security across the country.
Speaking on Wednesday, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, Raymond Omolo, revealed that over 10,300 officers from various security service units have been deployed to ensure safety in public spaces during the festive period.
We are activating the National Multi-Agency Command Center at the Langata Barracks to be supported by the regional multi-agency command centers as well as the county multi-agency command centers, which will comprise officers from all the services that I've mentioned.
Kenyans and international visitors have been urged to remain vigilant while enjoying festivities or engaging in online transactions to prevent theft and cybercrime, which tend to spike during this season.
We urge all citizens to remain vigilant and to cooperate with law enforcement officers during the entire festive season to ensure that safety of all Kenyans and all visitors are guaranteed. More specifically, looking after the vulnerable amongst us, the children, women, and those with disability.
Road users with a history of violating traffic laws have been sternly warned as the National Transport and Safety Authority has been called to intensify measures to curb accidents caused by reckless driving.
These include drunk driving, overloading and speeding of public transport vehicles, which escalate road fatalities. Unscrupulous owners also tend to deploy unlicensed public service vehicles to meet the high travel demand.
At the coast, Regional Commissioner Rodha Onyancha chaired a security meeting with the leaders from various security units in the region. The session focused on preparing and enhancing security measures along the coast.
We are all alert and we are going to ensure that we secure our borders so that we have free movement of people and goods, and also we don't have criminals again coming in even through those borders.
Kinto Wafula, TV47.
Thank you, Kinto. Jackton Odhiambo, the prime suspect in the murder of the LGBTQ+ activist Edwin Kiprotich Kiptoo, alias Chiloba, has been found guilty of the offense by the Eldoret High Court. Odhiambo, who is said to have committed the offense on December 31st, 2022 in Kimumu on the outskirts of Eldoret, will be sentenced on December 16th of this year. Elizabeth Atieno now tells us more.
After close to 2 years along the corridors of justice, the family of slain LGBTQ activist Edwin Kiptoo, popularly known as Chiloba, can finally breathe a sigh of relief after the Eldoret High Court on Wednesday delivered a verdict pronouncing photographer Jackton Odhiambo guilty of the murder.
This court arrives at the inescapable conclusion that the accused Jackson Odhiambo, alias Lisa, is guilty of murder under Section 203 as punished under 204 of the Penal Code.
High Court Judge Ruben Nyakundi has noted that the prosecution has proved its case against the prime suspect and that the evidence from witnesses in DNA has clearly linked the suspect to the heinous act. Odhiambo will know his sentence on the 16th of December.
And the deceased person, due to those injuries to the internal organs, had to cave in because in overall, the chief pathologist made a finding, opined that the deceased died of asphyxia.
The evidence presented to the court had also established that Odhiambo was the last person seen with the deceased at an entertainment joint in Langas on the night of the incident.
Of the deceased had suffered multiple injuries. His own clothes, his own shoelaces had been tied through the ankle. The mouth had been starved with socks.
Odhiambo is accused of killing the LGBTQ activist between the 31st of December 2022 and the 3rd of January 2023 within an apartment in Chepkolel, Moiben area on the outskirts of Eldoret town before dumping his body in Kipenyo area, which is 10 kilometers from the scene of crime. The body was discovered stuffed in a metallic box on the 3rd of January 2023 along Kipkenyo Kaptinga Road in Kapseret sub-county. 5 suspects were subsequently arrested and arraigned in connection with the incidents, among them Odhiambo. The other 4 suspects were, however, freed. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Daniel Wanyeki, who spent 17 years in prison after being convicted falsely of defiling his 2 7- and 9-year-old daughters, is now a free man after Thika law courts released him under stringent conditions to observe during his freedom. Principal Magistrate Stella Atambo has ruled in favor of Wanyeki's release, granting him a 100,000 cash bail and a surety of a similar amount. His case is expected to be mentioned next year when the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution will tell the court whether they will continue with the retrial as was earlier directed by Kiambu High Court.
so the applicant be and is hereby then released on bond of Kenya shillings 100,000 with a surety of a similar amount or an alternative cash bail of the same amount with one contact person who will avail a copy of ID and give a written undertaking on the applicant's or the accused person's attendance in court in future.
Thank you because of my release, and I will be happy to ensure that I will attend to every condition I've been given to do. Thank you.
I am glad that in our judicial system, human rights and fundamental freedoms are upheld. He's a free man. He's a right to bail as an arrested person. He's not serving any sentence.
Nimepata nafasi ya kuona babangu kwa miaka mingi sana nikiwa mdogo. Aliniacha nikiwa mdogo sana. Hata tungepatana na yeye nje singejua ni babangu.
Now, Mary Chemtai, who is among the 202 prosecution witnesses lined to testify against Senator Jackson Mandago and two former county officials, Joshua Lelei and Mesha Krono, told the court how she discontinued her son's education and sold all her property because of the Overseas Education Scholarship Program. Now testifying before Senior Principal Magistrate Peter Alois Ndege as the 35th witness, Chemtai told the court that she discontinued her son's higher education at the local university in order to enroll her into the program that was being spearheaded by the Uasin Gishu County.
Mtoto wangu hapo tu nyumbani sababu nilikosa fees ya kulipa tena. Niliuza vitu mingi, niliuza tu vitu yote nilikuwa nayo. Sasa singeweza kuwasa, lakini mtoto wangu ako hata na mimi sasa. Hapa ndani.
Umeeleza koti kwamba ulilipa 1.177 million.
Yes.
Baada ya kulipa hii pesa, uliweza kuelewa mbona mtoto wako hakusafiri kusoma?
Tulielewa ya kwamba tulifika mahali tukaona wamekaa sana, tukakuwa na maneno mengi yenye.
Maneno gani hii unasema maneno?
Tukakuwa na ile yenye natuambia tuongoje next month wataenda. Ikafika mahali tukaambiwa tuandike refund. Tukaandika refunds. So tukaongojea refunds.
Ukisema kuandika refunds unamaanisha nini?
Kurudishiwa pesa. Tuliandika barua ya kumaanisha turudishiwe pesa.
Na baada ya kuandika hii barua, mliweza kupewa pesa hiyo?
Tutapewa.
Ulikuwa unajua pia ulifaa ulipe kulingana na ushahidi wako full fees ya semester 1 year. Una confirm? Kuna lipa for both semesters?
Nililipa tu pesa zote tu safari moja.
Maelezo yangu ni kwamba ulilipa pesa zote, ulilipa nusu. Kuna semester hukulipia.
Kama gani?
Ndio maelezo yangu. Una confirm ulilipa ama hapana?
Nililipa fees yote.
Fees yote.
All right, and that story ushers us into our first break. But when we come back, we have more news, and then later on we talk about female entrepreneurs, 16 days of activism. How exactly do they coincide? Don't go too far, we'll be right back.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want
use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Japsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back to the Daily Report. As the country continues to intensify the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, survivors come out calling on the government to revise national policies on family promotion and protection, as family context is a serious issue that has contributed to GBV in that it affects hundreds of people countrywide.
Families from different setups came out in numbers to amplify and share their stories as victims of gender-based violence, showcasing garments, shoes, walls with articles, each with a tale of how their innocence was lost in the hands of people dear to them. Policymakers were taken through this display in a bid to show them how crucial it is for them to address gaps and opportunities in the National Policy on Family Promotion and Protection Act of 2023.
It is about time that as a society, as a country, we call ourselves to meetings, because it seems like we are losing it at the family level and it's not safe. That's why our policies must be geared towards strengthening the family institution.
Justice being a huge priority to all survivors, members of parliament present pledged to strengthen laws to protect victims of GBV and hold perpetrators accountable.
It ni digital. So unaenda na una meet somebody na humjui alafu ni mtu si mzuri. So we have to protect each other and we have to put systems in place to protect each other.
And as a policy maker, anything that you want me to be your champion, any platform that my platform you want me to use to advocate for what you're doing, I am ready.
So we also urge that those who are stealing money meant for these victims should also be prosecuted.
Some of the dignitaries, being GBV survivors, called on survivors to break the silence and become champions of the fight against GBV.
Let's keep reporting. If you see someone who is being defiled, someone who has been raped, someone who is going through wife battering, including men. Men are the ones who rarely speak about these things because they feel like I'll be seen as a coward. Let's speak about it.
Anastasia Mkabi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Anastasia. The country is poised for a healthcare revolution driven by the integration of cutting-edge digital solutions at the Open Digital Health Summit in Nairobi. Experts highlighted transformative initiatives, including the 104.8 billion integrated healthcare information technology system. And as Anne Odida now reports, these innovations promise to redefine healthcare delivery, making it more efficient, transparent, and accessible for all Kenyans.
Kenya's healthcare system is on the brink of a digital transformation following the conclusion of the Open Digital Health Summit in Nairobi, held from December 1st to 3rd, 2024. The summit brought together experts from around the world to discuss how technology can revolutionize healthcare. The event, themed Accelerating Full Stack on FHIR, emphasized the need for open standards and technologies to integrate healthcare systems effectively.
Don't mind if we take some shots,
This discussion ties closely to Kenya's ambitious 104.8 billion Kenyan shillings integrated healthcare information technology system projects. This initiative, led by a consortium including Safaricom, Apero Limited, and Convergence Network Solutions, aims to digitize and connect Kenya's healthcare infrastructure, addressing long-standing inefficiencies. The IHTS project will roll out in phases, introducing systems that unify patient records, digitize hospital operations, and enhance pharmaceutical supply chains. For example, the Health Information Exchange will ensure that healthcare providers can access a patient's full medical history at any time, streamlining care and reducing errors.
It should be able to tell you, the doctor who saw you or the clinician who saw you, what was your entire package or your spend, how much money did you spend at that facility.
Other components include telemedicine services, which is expected to bridge the gap in healthcare access for remote and underserved areas, and a pharmaceutical tracking system to monitor drug distribution and prevent counterfeiting.
We are doing all this to have health data in one place so that we can do certain things.
we can improve the quality of the health data that we collect.
The recent summit highlighted how digital health systems like RHTS could transform healthcare delivery. Fast digitization will reduce paperwork and administrative bottlenecks, allowing healthcare workers to focus on patient care. It will also enable real-time data collection, which is critical for policymakers to allocate resources effectively and respond to healthcare crises.
We want to make it easier for healthcare workers to be able to quickly design and implement their interventions without taking too much time going into documentations that are tomes and tomes of books and booklets.
If successful, these initiatives will set a precedent for other nations in the region, proving that digital solutions can enhance healthcare delivery.
Now let's make sense of shillings and cents in the world of business. The government is exploring the idea of using Lake Baringo to promote irrigated agriculture as the ongoing perennial rains continues to wreak havoc across different areas. Water, Sanitation and Irrigation Cabinet Secretary Eric Muga now says, among many other plans, the government will revamp old and dilapidated dams to promote water harvesting, hopefully freeing the country from the drought to flood cycle it has been stuck in.
And we are looking at the broader Baringo County, which is one of the largest counties in the country, more than 11,000 kilometers squared. We are also exploring the possibility of using Lake Baringo to do irrigation. And we are having a stakeholders meeting of all the leaders tomorrow to start that discussion. Because food security is one of the ministries mandated, especially on matters rice. And we owe it to build infrastructure and empower our farmers.
Juzi tulitoa 487 million kwa Kenya seed. So hiyo production haiwezi kuongezeka kwa sababu ya kukosa maji. So hii damu ikiongezwa, we can produce up to 2 billion chakula.
Kwa muda mrefu tumekuwa tukitumia machine petrol na ambayo imekuwa ni gharama. Sasa hii ingine itatufanyia kazi kwa rahisi kwa mashamba.
Majid Al Futtaim, the official operators of Carrefour Kenya, has launched the first retail business school in Kenya as a means to integrate formal training into the supply value chains. The school will offer courses covering retail technical skills, customer experience, leadership development, and localization programs. This, they say, will improve the supply chain in retail businesses, ensuring quality service provision and a customer-centric approach in management.
I will not give all the secrets, but we have a very, very ambitious expansion plan in Kenya. So you cannot grow, you cannot expand if you don't have the right people. And Teresa mentioned it very well, that we need people to make the things happen. And that tool today, that school, will help us to grow and to achieve our goal. It's also underscore our deep commitment to professional development of our colleagues and cultivation of a new generation of innovative retail industry leaders in the country.
If you are happy what you're doing because you're confident in what you're doing, you're confident how you cut the meat, you're confident how you bake the bread, you become an expert, you become happy. You start to smile, and also customers will start to smile. If we're achieving this simple goal with this school, we've done a lot.
Now, Cooperative Bank has won this year's Africa's CIO 100 Award for the innovative design and development of the Direct Settlement System, DSS, for the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. Now, the DSS, an IT-driven project, stood out for its tangible impact on coffee farmers since its inception in 2023 for providing a new coffee settlement regime at the National Coffee Exchange, settling in excess of 30 billion shillings in coffee sales with minimal disruption. Cooperative Festive Bank won the award, beating other banks, Absa Group of South Africa and the First Bank of Nigeria, who made it to the finals in the 16th edition of the awards. The direct settlement system has seen coffee growers enjoy unprecedented levels of price transparency and efficiency in payment process, boosting market confidence significantly.
Sports News brought to you by Maybets.
Let's get sporty. Kenya Academy of Sports National Sports Talent Camp has been launched at the Aga Khan High School in Nairobi County. In a collaborative effort of Kenya Association of Sports, Ministry of Sports and of Education, the camps bring together talented athletes from the ages of 7 to 19 for intensive 2-week residential training in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu and Eldoret cities. This year, 3,000 youngsters from different sport disciplines, which include athletics, football, basketball, volleyball, swimming, rugby, hockey, tennis, table tennis and chess, are being trained to promote inclusivity in local sports.
This camp brings together top talented athletes, their teachers, highly qualified coaches from various sports disciplines for 2 weeks intensive training. The athletes were selected, as you've been told, during the school games, regional and national school games, for both secondary, primary, and the challenge sports.
As a Kenya Academy of Sports, I give direction that you need to have a proper technology application in terms of sourcing of the talent, so that the process of getting the talented young people is transparent. We want to make sure that it's as transparent as possible and is able to capture all the people we need across the country. We are training 3,000 now. I want us to put the budgetary process in place to make sure that next year we do about 10,000 young people across the country. Kenya Academy of Sports has been given directions to work with all the coaches across the country and train them in all the schools in our country. In the policy that we are developing, we need to create a pathway so that we work with the TSC to make sure that coaches that are producing the best players in the country are promoted on merit based on their training.
Right. The Elite 16 round of the Basketball African League commenced yesterday at the Kasarani Indoor Arena after 1 week of pure entertaining basketball that saw host Nairobi City Thunder etch their name in the history books after becoming the first Kenyan team to qualify for the Basketball African League. Our sports reporter Nzuki Allen gives us more on the same.
Kenya basketball champions Nairobi City Thunder on Tuesday night ensured they sail top seed in next year's Basketball African League after they outclassed Cape Verde's Creole Stars 99 points to 86 points at the Kasarani Indoor Arena.
Exactly it. We went undefeated this time, and last time we only lost 1 game, so being 9-1 is a good place to be.
The Brad Ibbs-led side became the first ever Kenyan side to qualify for the Continental Showpiece, with the Ministry of Sports acknowledging their efforts by promising to nurture more talent.
As a government, we are putting resources now to grow talent through the Kenya Academy of Sports. But also we want to support the federations, including the Basketball Federation, what they are doing. And we have partnered together, even in this tournament, to support them.
Uganda secured wins in all the qualifying games, including a win over Giant City Oilers from Uganda, who failed to qualify for the tournament for the first time after they suffered a narrow 77 points to 75 defeat to Burundi's Urunani in the third place playoff.
We competed in the battle the last 2 or 3 years, 2 years if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we just came up short this year. That's it. I mean, the level of competition is the same.
Meanwhile, Creole Stars will also represent the Eastern Division in the Basketball African League, became the first team from Cape Verde to accomplish this historic feat.
Amazing for us to qualify because it was history for the country. So it was the first time that the team from Cape Verde qualify on a first try. So it is really big for us. So
Uganda will now turn their attention back into the Kenyan Premier League as they seek to defend their national title before the Basketball Africa League kickstarts on April 5th next year.
No. We can't say we are going to participate. We are going to win. Thunder fans are spoiled. They like winning. So for us going out there, we are going to win.
The question now lingers. Is this the turning point for basketball in the country? Nzuki Alan for TV47 Sports.
Thank you, Nzuki. Shabana FC have registered a 1-1 draw against Posta Rangers in the Football Kenya Federation match played at the Gusii Stadium. Shabana were forced to come from behind after Posta Rangers took the lead inside 40 minutes through Shami Kibwana's goal. Shabana restored parity in the 79th minute through Brian Mishira's goal as both teams shared the spoils after the final whistle. Elsewhere, Kenya Police have bagged their second win of the season following a 3-1 victory over Nairobi City Stars at the Dandora Stadium, while defending champions defeated Talanta at the same venue.
Everybody who was present can attest that it's not a fair representation of the game, because from the word go, from kickoff up to almost the 90th minute, I was holding the match so well. I was leading in everything, including the goal difference. But unfortunately for me, I can say that playing at home, Shabana had the upper hand, especially with the 12th man on the pitch. You can see the fans, they really pushed them. But unfortunately, in the second half, I can say that my boys kind of cracked from the pressure, aerial balls and everything. But even the referees, they had nothing to do with the draw. So for me, it's not a fair one. I'm not lamenting.
Of missed chances, both our opponents na sisi. So ukiona tumekuja from a goal down na hiyo character ya vijana to secure 1 point, naweza sema it's a plus. Najua hii point moja pengine ndio itatupatia ile position tunataka kwa ligi.
Sports News brought to you by Maybets.
All right, with that, we conclude the news segment of this bulletin. We go for a short break. When we come back, we talk about women in trade and how exactly activism comes into play in that particular sector. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips. And the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed,
I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome back and welcome to the marketplace. The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is in full swing. Tonight, we're going to be concentrating on women. Specifically, we're going to be concentrating on women in business. Did you know that around 45 to 50% of total entrepreneurs in this country are women? However, businesses led and owned by women is about 10%. That already shows a huge disparity. With me in studio tonight, I have Alice Wangari, who is a lawyer and a women's rights activist. And I have with me Faith Muraya, who is the brand manager at PZ Cousins. So I'll start with you, Alice. Maybe if you could just tell us. Of course, GBV, 16 Days of Activism, isn't necessarily about women, but women are the most affected. How so?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Good evening to you. Good evening, Faith. Good evening, our viewer. I must say that the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, when we talk about gender, we talk about men, women, and the queer community or the sexual minorities, those people who do not wish to be identified by the dualities of gender. But in recent times, and especially in our country, we have seen a spike in increased issues of violence against women, which have even escalated into aspects of femicide. Also coinciding with that is the fact that right now we are in the December holidays and schools are closed, and therefore we are also looking at the issue of FGM, especially in the rural areas. And right now the greatest threat to our girls in the rural areas is cross-border facilitated FGM, whereby because our country has stringent laws against FGM and the anti-FGM law of 2015, and also our commitment to eradicate FGM by the year 2026, now those girls are usually transported to the neighboring countries where that FGM is conducted to them, and then they are returned back to the country once they are healed. Right. So therefore, this is an opportune moment for us to take stock of the issues that are bedeviling mainly women, because those are mainly the issues that have come to the fore. Also, we have the societal stigmas, especially against men, that hinder them from reporting issues of violence, especially in the homesteads and even at the workplace and in social settings.
Right, Alice, thank you so much for that. Faith, of course, there are all these issues, but then women in the corporate, sector, women who are working are already being affected in a special way. How so is the corporate setting kind of, hard for women?
So in the corporate setting, I can say that women are still striving to go into the glass ceiling. And the reason that we are striving is because obviously our fathers and mothers educated us further than what we expected as of now. And I think for us, it's we're more economically open, we're financially stable, and we have the freedom to go and do what we want to do. However, JBV is not limited to social economic status, so it can cut across. So in terms of being in this setting, it doesn't restrict us from having a few women or many women who are affected by it. So I think we should also take into importance that we shouldn't remove ourselves from that category and ensure that in every category that we have in terms of our offset, in terms of our colleagues, we are very prevalent to their behaviors, we're looking out for each other, and we also understand that these issues are there.
All right, Faith, maybe if you could just tell us, of course, when you look into, you know, corporate settings and you put the numbers aside a little bit, you're a brand manager. How exactly can a brand either, you know, reduce cases of GBV or even exacerbate it?
I wouldn't say that we can eradicate it, but we can definitely ensure that we are able to influence the affected majority. So in terms of where we stand as I stand as a brand manager is that I handle a product that is very advocacy for women, and we push the confidence of women. We ensure that women are taken care of, they're taking care of themselves, they understand their rights, and also they are confident in who they are. And also women standing as togetherness. This ensures that we're able to speak, we're able to talk, and we're able to withstand whatever issues we have in the society.
All right, Alice, of course, these are very important things to the welfare of the woman, and we also must think about the economy. So how exactly could inclusion and protection of women help in enhancing and, you know, growing our economy?
Right. So one of the things that we need to focus on is, for example, develop gender-conscious policies, especially at the workplace. So far, we are looking at proposing an amendment to the Employment Act of 2007 because as at now, it states that any organization that has over 20 employees is supposed to have a well-coded anti-sexual harassment policy. But we see that sexual harassment requires no quorum, it's inchoate. You can have 2 employees and still there are cases of harassment. Harassment also is not personified, it's a systemic challenge. And therefore, we would be seeking to amend that piece of legislation so that all organizations that are hiring people would have that express anti-sexual harassment policy, and it be embedded within any contract and offer letter for every employee to sign that within the contract, and so that it also becomes conscious unto them that it is a code to be abided by within the precincts of employment. That is one of the things. The other thing is, of course, teaching people, especially in employment, to be conscious about their rights. So rights-centered type of employment, rights-centered type of labor. And I'm glad, going by that yesterday I was in a forum by the National Youth Council, and I was actually educating the youth about contract negotiation and rights-based employment. Yeah, because there's a lot of abuse also that happens directly or indirectly, overtly and covertly within the employment settings. Yeah, and those are some of the things that, you know, cause a lot of mental disturbance, and that translates into social disturbance as well as economic disturbance. So we need to understand that the labor force is what translates to our economic prosperity. So if we do not take care of ourselves socially, psychologically, emotionally, therefore our labor output is going to be impacted greatly, and that is also going to have a spillover effect to our economic stability and also our economic output. And as well, it is going to inform the work ethics that we are going to build as a country and even as a corporate.
All right. Yeah. There are a few things that you've raised that are very interesting. Maybe, Faith, if you could just tell us, you know, they usually say what we want versus what we get is two different things. Mambo kwa ground different. So how is it that, you know, we can translate some of these pro-gender policies in our workplaces? How receptive is the world of corporates, you know, towards changes that could be more inclusive for women?
I think in terms of inclusivity, we have been very inclusive. I work with a team of amazing women who are in leadership, and that's what makes it very aspirational for even the young girls coming into corporate. There have been other policies that have been made throughout, like mothers' rooms and other facilities that have really helped women embody, one, their career, and hence they're able to go back, get back on their feet after they have a child. And so I don't think that there's any restriction or any hindrance from any policies that are coming through. And we are able to get our services and what we have. So ground quite to see different.
Right. And how can you promote, this feel good? Because Alice has said that, once the internal customer is feeling nice, the external customer is going to feel nice as well. How can we promote this? How can we make women more confident, more bold? What are some of the things they can do?
I think it starts all with nurturing, where we come from, our homes. So our parents and we as a society need to nurture our girls and also our boys to become more emotionally intelligent, more aware of themselves, and also just have a lot of, how do you say this? A lot of
open and receptive
conversations. Yes, be open and be able to communicate in society. Then we can be able to raise people who are able to go into society, and we have less of this.
Right. But there are social and cultural barriers as well, because things are different in different countries. And you have talked about how the government usually comes in to, promoting more gender equality in different places. How exactly, can we reflect this even better in our society?
Right, and I would like to refer to a story that you have just ran by regarding people proposing for a bill on family values. I'd like to say that that is a very laudable kind of commitment, but unfortunately, it may not see the light of day. One, because I feel like the families that we are, living within are not conscious of the kind of generational trauma that they are carrying. Yeah, so we have to start from a level of consciousness. The problem with the very many legislations that we make in this country is because we do not teach people about the need for this legislation. So how I wish that we would first begin with teaching people, making them conscious about what trauma is and the various types of trauma, generational traumas that we have all undergone. Then from there would be need for policy transformation and as well as legislative and institutional transformation. It starts that way. It's a bottom-up type of arrangement. And that way, I believe it would be more effective. It would also help with self-regulation of the society. Some of these things, I believe, are occasioned by the need for self-regulation, not mainly for policy or legislative or for punitive action to be taken against perpetrators, because once we all understand the effect of trauma, the effect of torture, we would be each other's keeper. We would prevent that other person from undergoing trauma, from undergoing torture, and make, the society a habitable place for them. That said, in the workplace, I want to imagine that men and women do not have equal chances, especially at promotion. In October, we celebrated the International Day for Equal Pay. And I wrote a very long article on my Instagram account, alluding to the fact that women still are paid less than men by 20%. And that's a report by UN Women that was released last year. And also going by that, women who go to maternity leave, they are not given equal chances when it comes to appraisal and promotion against men. Why? Because during that tenure that they have undergone the maternity leave, this man is still working, he's still attending the trainings, he's still sharpening his skills. So when it comes to, appraisals and going through the tests, then the man stands a higher chance over the woman. Then we have a society in this country that does not appreciate the non-financial contribution of a woman, especially in the homestead.
Right.
In other jurisdictions, you find that that is remunerable for a woman. But in this country, no, it is not.
Right.
So those are some of the inequalities that we need to address. I also look at it from the beauty industry. And so, you know, in the 19th century, in America, there was a lot of discrimination, especially with the products that were produced in the beauty industry.
Right.
So most of them were actually tailor-made for like a specific race for women, and that brought about something called the womanist movement.
Right.
So womanist movement was more of like external issues that women identify with rather than the internal issues that bring out the unity of women across the board.
All right.
And so I look forward to a situation where women are going to be united by the internal identities rather than external identities like socialism, social identities, economic class, as well as political class and ageism.
Right.
Yes.
Faith, I'd love to get your opinion on what, you know, Alice has just said, especially when it comes to remunerating women for the domestic work that they usually do in the house, which, by the way, goes very, very much unappreciated most of the time, because they say, ulikuwa nyumbani the entire day. It's not like you did anything. So do you think we can have a situation where women, you know, can get remuneration for that? And then how exactly do you find promotion in your workplace? In many workplaces, are women usually disadvantaged in that particular sector?
From my experience, I can only talk from my experience, is that when you are a woman, you're expected to do all. So you're a superwoman. You are, it's an expectation that has no value in regards to payment, and it's not something that I think right now in our society we're ready to call on. I think with the age of social media, we're able to see that people are being paid for being at home. We are going to the prospects of trophy wives. But in terms of a society, Africa, and in the world totality, we are not yet there. To second it, I think in regards to promotion, it really depends on which company you work for and their policies in regards to promotion. It does entail that you have to work harder in regards to proving yourself, being able to balance all these balls that you are rolling with and make sure that none drops. However, when you work in a company where women are leaders, then the expectations are not as high because you are able to relate. And I think the more we are in leadership positions, the more we'll be able to relate. The more you'll be able to run home to a sick child. The more you'll be able to go on early maternity leave. The more you'll be able to work from home if something is wrong. So I think that we are evolving as women, and in Kenya, and especially in our corporate space, we do have the room to be able to balance all our balls, and it's exceptionally beautiful at the moment.
Right. And maybe you have said that different companies have different policies, but how exactly can companies come in? Because when women complain about, you know, needing more time off or needing an extension to their, you know, maternity leave, it comes with some consequences most of the time. You're threatened, or you could find a situation where they'd say, you know, you're a liability to this company, so we don't need you anymore. How exactly can we shift that as women?
I think legally our contracts do bind us to some terms and conditions. However, if you do work at, in an area where they're able to review their policies often, then you are safe, because then they're able to understand that the dynamics are changing. The women are changing. We have women who go through postpartum depression. We have women who need to visit their children in the NICU for a while. So I think we are evolving in regards to being able to create that space and actually ask for it. So I always tell women, ask. It does not matter what it is, just ask, because if you do not ask, you'll just keep complaining with no solution. So being able to just revolve ourselves into having that confidence, having that boss of it. I'd also like to talk about what she mentioned about beauty. So we have a beauty product, and we are very happy about it because it is beyond. We're not creating a level of colorism. We're not encouraging people to look different. We are embodying women. So in terms of PZ Carson's and Venus, we are looking into having our consumers understand that who you are is what is beautiful. And so we are having a slogan that says, be you, be beautiful, which means that if I am brown, if you are darker chocolate, if you are light, if you are mid chocolate, we are accepting you. And our products work again for you, regardless of where you come from and who you are.
Right, be beautiful. Now, Alice, maybe if you could just tell us, of course, discrimination comes in very many facets. Different things make, different people react differently. Sure. There's a new facet that's come up in discrimination. What she just mentioned, sometimes colorism may make someone, favored more than you. How exactly is the Kenyan context when it comes to colorism, and how exactly is that promoting maybe even, gender bias?
Speaking from a standpoint of myself being a victim of colorism at the employment space, I would tell you that it's a real threat because some people feel like just because of your color you did not merit through the proper channels. Right. It was your color that earned you this position, and so it gets you a lot of rejection, especially at the workplace, and that has led people even to reorganize just the modalities of applying for jobs. You find that people now are, using CVs that do not have photographs because of that. When it comes to like Zoom meetings, online meetings, you find that, somebody will not want to switch on their video because of, such issues as that. So I think over and above, there is need for sensitization at the workplace. We also need to relook and rethink and reimagine our HR policies, to make people conscious of the fact that these are issues that really disturb, especially the victims, and just to be fair to people and to practice what is called compassionate employment, compassionate corporate governance, because that really is the backbone of good work ethics. And not only at the workplace, I would say even in political leadership, the question of colorism is very much alive. I have ventured into the political space, and so I know what it feels like to be discriminated on basis of your skin complexion, and of course there's a lot of rumors that fly along, and people want to link you to sometimes even to substandard items that they would want to say that you use substandard items on your face to try and alter your complexion, and there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of propaganda and hearsay that goes along with that, and that really destabilizes any person's self-esteem. So I would just like to say that regarding colorism, it's an age-long thing. It's a colonial rhetoric that we need to grow beyond. And I would say that one of the steps towards dealing with such issue is to practice compassionate inclusion in any sector, be it in public spaces, in politics, be it in corporate governance, be it in private sectors, anywhere, even in the social settings.
All right. Faith, you work in the beauty industry, and these maybe are things that you probably deal with all the time. You said be you, be beautiful. How exactly can women be more confident? Because confidence does get you more opportunities, especially in the workplace. How can they, have more confidence, more step, more rhythm when they're taking opportunities?
I think when you enter any room, you should actually believe in yourself.
Amen.
So anything you do, you believe in yourself and you'll be able to surpass it. The next thing is understanding that you have to learn as you go. You'll never know everything. So as you bring out your confidence, don't be held down by people knowing more than you. Learn, grow. And that is what will get you to the leadership, to the top of the tier, because you'll be ever evolving. Don't be afraid to not evolve. Don't be just a mother. Don't be just a brother, sister. Don't be just who you think you are in terms of your status. Right. You should be a holistic person. So always believe that you are able to move through this. In terms of what we are in the beauty section, we really are trying to explain to women that not only is it in terms of taking care of yourself from a skincare product area. It's also taking care of yourself mentally, physically, and also spiritually, so that you're able to balance your life. But far most is that we have been taught to take care of ourselves in terms of skincare, but we're not able to really dig in depth into it. We have not been able to explore it as African women. We are just top level, you know, paka mafuta uende.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have come to the point where we are incorporating ingredients that are really good for our skin. We're incorporating science. We are making women come up with the products. So you'll find innovation from our products are made by women and concentrated by women, formulated by women, and thought through by women.
Right.
So it is something that we are creating that is actually serving a need for the women of Africa.
Right.
So we're really proud of that.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd love to hear from you two ladies. There is cyberbullying.
Yes.
And quite recently on Twitter, there was a conversation where someone disclosed the amount that she uses on her skincare. And it was met with a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
And people were like, how dare you use that amount of money on skincare? And you said that, you know, it's probably surface level at this particular juncture, and maybe it's an African thing, paka mafuta utoke. But how exactly can we change this narrative? Because it's self-care at the end of the day. Maybe Alice, you could tell us this.
Okay, I think in this country we have a culture of wanting to be quite meddlesome into people's affairs.
Right.
And I think by all standards that's quite unfair. It's a culture that is ingrained in us to always want to bully people and to bring them down without, you know, having proper basis, and sometimes, you know, just wanting to want to control other people's lives and how they live their lives. It's unfair, and of course I would really want to distance myself from anyone who is propagating such. I think it's always good to let people be. What they can afford is really up to them. And so again, that brings to the fore the question of classism, yeah? Because there are people who can afford that top tier amount of makeup. Then there are other people who cannot afford that. So how do we bring these two people together and to make sure that there is no conflict between them? I think really the answer is anyone should be comfortable where they are. If I can afford mafuta ya 200, then let me be happy with that mafuta ya 200. And then I aspire that maybe one day I'll also be able to buy mafuta ya 20,000.
Right.
You see? Then the other thing I would also want to say is that skin color or maybe your affordability for certain beauty products should not be a basis for you to invite any kind of sexualized attacks online and offline. You see, like for us women who are of light complexion, there is always this kind of stereotype, especially by people with low consciousness. And so every time you pass, they find that it's an avenue for them to catcall you.
Right.
We're brownie, you know, and that's really disheartening. I mean, it's crazy. Sometimes, like for me, when I was in politics, I mean, I attracted a lot of, you know, very informal and discourteous type of names just out of my skin complexion. So I would really want to say that people need to be very accommodative of everyone in the society, and you really have no control and you have no idea and no amount of power to change who a person is. Accept them as they are.
Accept them as they are.
Yes.
Maybe if you could just tell us, of course cyberbullying is the newest form of gender-based violence. It's used against women most of the time. It's also used against men, but women usually have, you know, the shorter end of the stick. How exactly can women be more, you know, more confident, much stronger on the social spaces? How can they overcome some of this bullying?
I think she's answered a part of it, which is just actually embodying yourself. The next is actually being someone else's keeper. So we need to stop the bullies at their tracks. I think facilitating them and encouraging them is one of the things that we don't do as a society. We don't tell people, hey, you're a bully, I think you should stop this behavior. So that would be one of the things that I would envision that we'd do. Obviously, there are policies in terms of Instagram and the like that you're able to report and have that person revoked of their rights. But in essence, it is about believing in yourself and embodying who you are. If you can afford the 200, you afford the 200. If you afford the 20,000, you're well and good. The ability to be able to ignore the noise outside is really something that needs to be ensured that you have that capacity.
Right. Faith, let's talk about pink tax for a moment. This is usually associated to women's products, and a lot of people have been talking either for or against it. Does it exist, especially in the Kenyan context? Do women, get the shorter end of the stick in the world of buying products?
Not necessarily. I think we have been able to, as a beauty category, been able to produce products that are better quality for our community. We are able to ensure that we are having the needs met for the ladies and the women. So we are not in that point at the moment.
All right. And maybe Alice, if you could just tell us, you have talked about how, policy-wise we are lacking, especially within, the government. How can we ensure that, while knowing that 50% of the entrepreneurs are female, that more of them are owning these businesses?
One is to create gender-friendly policies, gender-friendly laws. Remember, as at now, most of those enterprises are actually owned by women who access loans, and also the AGPO tenders, which are really difficult to come by and require a lot of networking and lobbying within the government circles for you to be privileged, even to have the list of the tenders and for your company to be pre-qualified. One of the things that I have come across, especially from most women, especially in the informal sectors and those women in the rural areas, is that these government-sponsored fundings, they have a lot of red tapes, and there's a lot of impractical requirements that are required of them for them to access these loans. And they would like that the requirements for accessing these loans to be a bit relaxed, so that they can be accessible to all and sundry. Yeah. The other thing I think is also the tax regimes need to be very gender conscious. I say that because in the revoked finance bill of 2024, there was a question of the eco-tax that was aiming at taxing, among other items, the care items for women, that is the sanitary towels, and also for the question of persons with disability, there's a question of the diapers and the catheters. Yeah, so taxation of such items, of course, is very detrimental, especially to women, and that is really something that needs to be looked into. So the tax regimes need to be very gender conscious. The business environment also needs to be very gender conscious. There's also need for insurance covers for women, especially those who work in informal sectors, those who work in industries. They also need to be taught how to, get the covers, and also to be shielded from hazardous equipments that may harm them health-wise.
Right. Thank you so much, Alice. Faith, just in a minute, because we've definitely over, and I'm told 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, Faith, maybe you could just tell us, how can we be more gender conscious?
We need to understand that we are all different, okay? And revolving around men and women, raising a boy child, I have realized that we are actually very different in the way we think, in the way we are raised, in the way we are nurtured. So how we can be gender conscious is to understand that we are different and to ensure that we embody and embrace the differences within us.
All right. One sentence, Alice, in conclusion?
Right. So I'd really just like to say that I think this country just needs to, you know, take seriously the issues of women. There's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of violence is going out here. It is silent, but it's being perpetrated and it's escalating by the day. So we really need to be conscious about issues regarding abuse, violence in the society, because I mean, I look at it in the next like 20 years, if we do not address these issues, then that's a ticking time bomb to our society,
All right.
and to our cohesion.
All right.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us tonight. That is what the Women in Trade had to say. These are some of the changes that they're advocating for, and we could have a better working environment, especially for women, considering that this is the 16 days of activism. Now is when we're supposed to take action. This has been The Marketplace. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Hibaq Said. Have yourselves a very lovely night.